Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video on another game I beat actually earlier in the year, and I just kept postponing the creation of this impressions video or review for this game, which was actually one of my favorite games released in 2020. The game was released by Kaizen Gameworks, a developer that really I don't think it has any background history in terms of previous games, so they're a new indie developer, I believe from England, and the game was released in September of 2020, and that game is Paradise Killer, a very stylish and interesting game, investigation game that really has checks all the boxes if you guys are into a niche and quirky type of indie investigation games. I guess that's the best way to put it. My background with the game is, I kept hearing a lot of positive things about this game from people that are into indie games, and for whatever reason, this game is only available on PC via the Steam platform, which is the what I used to play this game. And it's also available on the Nintendo Switch, but for whatever reason it's not available on the PlayStation or Xbox systems. Maybe that's something for the future. But at any rate, I beat this earlier in 2020. In fact, this game made my top 10 list of games for 2020. I believe I ranked this at number 9 or maybe number 8, because it was a very enjoyable game. And my goal was to solve every mystery, gather every piece of evidence, but I actually never got back to doing that, and hence why I'm a little bit late to doing the impressions video, because I thought I was gonna do the completionist route, but I wound up dropping that. At any rate, I want to say I completed the game to like 80 to 90% of gathering all the evidence, but let's just get started with Paradise Killer in terms of the story, which is very crazy, very confusing at times, but at the same time very refreshing and unique in a crazy kind of way. So Paradise Killer basically deals with this parallel universe in which immortal alien beings called the Syndicate are trying to create a perfect place to live, like an island. And so this place where you live is called the Paradise Island number 24, because it's the 24th iteration of trying to create this perfect place to live. And the way that these islands are created are from these Syndicate alien members bringing people from Earth, like regular citizens, and then sacrificing them in order to create new islands, which is kind of like a messed up concept. But the immediate story for this game is they're trying to create the perfect Paradise Island number 25, which is supposed to be the perfect one, in order to resuscitate some of their ancient gods. So that's the whole point of these alien beings called the Syndicate. However, when it was getting near completion of that perfect number 25 island, the council members are murdered. So it's up to the judge to call a Lady Love Dies, which is the character that you control, which is this girl that she is a private investigator that for whatever reason she was exiled for I think 3 million days or something ridiculous like that. That's how the game puts it out, because you dealt with like demons in the past. And so she comes out of exile to solve this interesting murder case of the Syndicate council members, that happens to happen, right before that new island is created. So I know it sounds confusing. It's a very interesting story that deals with, hierarchy. I think it touches upon, social, inequality in a way. It touches upon religion, and themes that are kind of like buried in there. But they're very interesting nonetheless. But the gist of it is you have to solve the murders of the council members by investigating and interrogating people on the island and finding clues and whatnot. And then once you gather enough evidence, then you present yourself to the judge for the final trial, and then you can actually, declare who's guilty and who's not guilty, which is a very interesting way of doing things. I'm not gonna spoil anything like I typically do, guys, but I was confused but pleased at the same time with the story. The game doesn't have like a perfect ending. Like that's one of the reasons why I decided to not kind of like not go back and do 100%, because this game has a very interesting way of dealing with the ending, in which, you know, the ending is basically a big trial where you point or you say who's guilty and who's not guilty. And based on the amount of evidence that you have, it makes it a little bit easier for you to point fingers at who you think might have been involved in the killings of the council members, whether directly or indirectly. So as you play, the more you play the game, the more evidence you can gather, and the more you can, I guess, justify your selections at the end of the trials. So technically, you can beat this game right away as soon as you're past like the first like prologue or whatever you want to call it, the first part of the game. You can go directly to the I guess final trial if you wish. However, I think that's going to be very hard, because, you know, in the final trial, the judge, she asks you, you're blaming this person. So what is your evidence in order to declare this person guilty? So I'm not really sure how well that works. Obviously, the purpose of the game is to gather as much evidence as you can, and then you can make up your mind. But the cool thing is, and I've been researching a lot after I beat the game, I don't think there's a perfect or true ending to the game. It's really what you make it out to be. It's really how you interpret the actions of all these citizens from Paradise Island. So it's a very interesting take, a very interesting way to, I guess, present the game and its story and the ending. And it leaves things like open, like not open-ended, but it leaves the player to the imagination of the player. You playing the detective, and you come up with the outcome of the who's guilty and who's not. So the endings obviously can vary a little bit based on who you accuse and who you don't. So I guess there's a replay value in getting different endings, but again, it was a very interesting way how the game is set up, and that's why I enjoyed the story with its crazy quirkiness, settings, and characters. I think the story is pretty solid for this game. Now, graphically, this is where the game really shines, in my opinion. Obviously, this game is not going to blow you away with cutting edge, next gen graphics. Quite the opposite. I think this game almost has like I want to say Wii era type of graphics. They're polygonal. It's just hanging there between the PS2 and the Wii type of quality in terms of the details and 3D elements. But the game has a very colorful setting, being the Paradise Island. A lot of locations that you can visit. The game, it's sort of inspired by like the retro wave movement, if you will, featuring a lot of like hot, like pink and purple types of colors, cyan. Just a very colorful setting with like palm trees, and I don't know, it seems to be kind of like based on that kind of like retro wave movement, if you will, with a lot of 80s inspired things, like a lot of the buildings and just overall technology that happens in the game. Like the computers, they look like very old, and for example, even though it's supposed to be like a high-tech environment or world. So the game features a very, very unique presentation and colors. But the one thing that stood out the most for me in terms of the art direction is how this game is heavily influenced by Suda51. If you were not to tell me, like if you were to present this game like right away, I would have bet money that this is a Grasshopper manufactured game. This game, just from the character, I guess, creation or the character art direction, if you will, to the character naming, like Lady Love Dice, that's the name of the character. And there are some other crazy names for the other characters that you meet in the world that are just straight up inspired by No More Heroes or Killer 7 or even, dare I say, maybe Metal Gear Solid games. Just very weird character names that are just funny to listen and interpret. Graphically, this game is definitely inspired by Suda 51. Unfortunately, the characters are like paper cuts, if that makes any sense. They're not very animated. They're almost like kind of like the Shin Megami Tensei, the older Shin Megami Tensei games, where it's just like a paper, cardboard figure almost that you approach them and you talk to them. They have different like frames, if you will, like if they're laughing, I guess the paper changes, the representing the character. It's very limited in its presentation, but you can't really ask for much considering this is an indie game. But from a graphical and art direction point of view, this game gets an A plus in my opinion. Even though it's limited, the Wii era types of graphics, I think in a way are charming and appropriate for this game. But the colors, the way the city, the paradise city is set up, it's just wonderful and very well thought, in my opinion. In terms of sound effects, I mean, this is another area where you can see the Suda 51 inspiration. I almost believe that some of the sound effects are straight up from games like Killer 7 and No More Heroes, just very like techie and I don't know, chimes for menu selections and overall sound effects that are very similar to those used by Grasshopper manufactured games. And the soundtrack itself is very, very, very good, inspired by kind of like electronic music, kind of like a retro wave movement that I talked about previously. The soundtrack is very strong in this game, and it really surprised me. And it just goes well with the art direction and the setting of the game. I think they did a wonderful job in terms of the soundtrack. And then finally, the gameplay. This is where the game, it's a little bit weird. I don't think there's anything quite like this out there. The game draws influences from like games like Danganronpa and the Phoenix Wright games in terms of the investigation nature of the game itself. But this game is not really an adventure, a point and click, or a visual novel, if you will. It's really a first-person game where you're free to explore the island. You're free to go whenever you want and talk to anyone you want. The island is surprisingly big, so there's a lot of exploration and a lot of collectibles that you gather that are very important in order for you to activate save stations and travel stations throughout the game. There are phones that you can use to save the game, and there are like soda dispensing machines that you can use to like fast travel to other areas. So the game rewards exploration by providing these collectibles, and it's just fun exploring. I mean, that's one of the things about this game. It's just fun exploring the different areas of the island. Some areas are similar, you can tell are for like higher social classes, beautiful monuments and statues. And then you can tell that you are in the lower like social status area. Sometimes you are in this like apartment complexes that are safe for the citizens from Earth that are living in there, which is pretty cool. But gameplay wise, you basically have to interrogate and talk to different people that are part of the island. And you gather evidence, you question them. The more you talk to them, the more information you gain, and with that information in hand, you can explore different areas, look for clues and things like that. And then you can cross-examinate, if you will, people when you talk to them. And so there's a lot of back and forth in terms of the game. Interrogating people here and there. There's a lot of characters in this game that you can talk to, and the game keeps track in a very good way of all the actions that you do in this computer. That's kind of like your companion. You carry this old school laptop that saves all the information, and it's very useful because I think it's very easy to lose track of what you're doing in these types of games in terms of collecting the evidence and just remembering who do you talk to and what happened. Especially if you take a break from playing the game, if you stop playing the game for a couple of days, you have all the information saved in your laptop, which is very handy. And that's where the game kind of shows you all the types of evidence and points you. It never points you on what to do or where to go, which is another thing that this game, I guess, shines on, if you want to call it that. The game doesn't hold your hand, but it's very easy to figure it out for yourself in terms of just interrogating the people and looking at your data in your laptop for all the evidence that you have collected. So Very interesting way of portraying the game. I really had a lot of fun exploring the island, a lot of fun interrogating, playing detective. The game does have like unlockables, like power-ups. You can do like a double jump and a dash, which creates or makes exploring the island a little bit more fun. You know, double jumping from here and there, and exploring different buildings and whatnot. So overall, Paradise Killer is a very, very solid game, indie game that it's worth checking out. It's available on the Switch and PC, and hopefully it'll be released for more systems later on in the future. But for now, that's it, guys. Paradise Killer, highly recommended if you're into investigation / detective games with a touch of Suda 51 craziness, if you will. So that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later. Take it easy.